Hi everyone, welcome back to Mark Analytics. Have you exported or received a report from a system like this? And this report has almost everything inside. This data is useful, but sometimes when you are doing higher level report, you may not need to show everything. So maybe your manager only wants a clean report showing the selected KPIs like this. So every month you end up filtering and copy pasting to put into your template for the reporting. But there's actually a faster way, and this is where index match can be very useful. So in this video, I'll be covering why learn index match when XLOOKUP exists, and what index does, what the match does, and how index match works together, and finally how to use index match for real reporting template with row and column lookup. Let's get started. Why learn index match when XLOOKUP exists? For lookup task, XLOOKUP is easier and cleaner, especially when you're working on Microsoft 365, Excel 2021, and Excel 2024. But index match is still useful when you're working with older Excel version, existing company files, reporting templates that already use this logic, and also when you are working with people using older Excel versions. So next, let's take a look at what index does. Let's start with the index function. Index returns a value based on the position. So let's take a look at how to use index function. Equals index, and first select the array. So the array can be a single row or a single column or many rows or columns. So let's take a look at a single row. And let's say I want it to return the value number 2. So because this is just a single row, so I'll just leave the row number blank and the column number 2 because it is at the column number 2 over here. Then close parentheses, and now I got my number 2. And let's take a look at the next example. Let's say my array is one single column, and I want it to return the value 5. And value 5 is in row number 5, so I'll just type in 5. And over here, I can just close parentheses, or I can just type a comma, then close parentheses. Now I got the 5. And let's take a look at another example where the array has many rows and columns. And now I want it to return the number 10. So number 10 is in row number 8. So I'll just type in 8 and column number 3. Then close parentheses, and now I got number 10. And this index function can also return a single row or column. For example, I want it to return the entire row for row number 2. So I'll just type in 2 and then comma, then close parentheses. And now I got the entire row number 2, which is 2, 3, 4. And I can do that the same for column. So let's return column number 3, close parentheses. And now I got the entire column for row number 3. And next, let's take a look at the match function. A match function finds the position of an item. So it returns the position instead of the value. And now let's take a look at how to use the match function. Let's say I want to know where is this keyboard located from this data. So I'll just type in match. Then this is the lookup value, comma, then the lookup array. And the match type is exact match, so it's 0, then close parentheses, then I got number 1. And let's log this array, this lookup array, by pressing F4 on the keyboard, and then drag down this formula. And now I got the position for each of this item from this data. So this is in row number 1, 2, 3, and so on. And one thing to take note is that the lookup array in the match function can only be a single column or a single row. So for example, if I want to look up this keyboard from this entire array, which has more than one column and more than one row, and I choose exact match, then close parentheses, then I'll get NA. So what match can do here is to return a single position from a single row or a single column. So in this first example, it's the row position for each of this item, or we can look for the column position for each of this item. So for example, match, then keyboard, and the lookup array is the first row, and then 0 for exact match. And now I can know that this is in the first column. And since I didn't lock the lookup array, so when I drag down this formula, you can see that it shifts from each of the row, and all of them is in the first column. Match returns the position from one single column or one single row. And for index, it returns the value. So when we combine both of this, then we can return the value from the particular position. And now let's combine index and match function. All right, for example, if I want to return this value, so this is the value that I want to return. So first, let's use the match function to look up the position for this item. So this is the array, and let's log it. And I want the exact match, then close parentheses. So this is the row number. And next, let's use the index. And first is the array. So this is the array. And let's log it as well, then comma. And this first match function will return the row number. So this is the row number, then comma. Since it is always in column number 2, because this is the values that we want to return. So I'll just put in 2 for the column number, then close parentheses. And now I drag down the formula. And this is the value from this column number 2 for each of this item. All right, so this is the basic idea of index match. And let's move on to real reporting example. All right, so here I have a worksheet called System Export, and it contains a lot of metrics and a lot of data in it. But for my reporting, I only need the online and retail channel for each of the region. And these are the metrics that I need, and this is the month that I need. So in this raw data, I have a lot of month, and you can see there are a lot of metrics as well. And if we look closely for the channel, it has this corporate channel as well. So that's not what I need. So what I can do here is to use index match. But before that, I'll need to create a helper column to combine the channel, region, and month, because for the match function, it'll need one single lookup value. So over here, I'll just add another column, which is called row key. And it will be equals to the region and channel and month. All right, so this is the helper column that I need. And let's make some color, and let's highlight it so that we know that this is a helper column. Bullet. And I'll also need a helper column for this raw data. So let me create a new column over here, and let's name it as row key as well. And it will also be equals to the region, channel, and the month. And make sure the row key for both of this worksheet or data is exactly the same, because it will be our lookup value or lookup array. And now let's create the index match function to look up the value for each of this item. And let's start with the index. And first, let's select the array. So the array is this system export raw data from column A onto column W. And I'm selecting the entire column because in the future, if this data grows, I do not need to resize this array. And I'll press F4 to lock this array. Then comma. Next is the row number, which will be using the match function. Match, and the first value is the lookup value, which is the row key that I've created just now. And over here, I'll lock the column A. So I'll press F4 and press again until it's a $sign in front of the column A. And next is the lookup array, which is the row key in this raw data. And I'll also lock this column A by pressing F4 and then 0 for exact match, then close parenthesis and comma. And next we'll be looking for the column number using match function again. Match, and first is the lookup value. So for the lookup value for the column is the header. So I'll click on this first header, which is the revenue. And over here, since the header is always in row number 5, so I'll press F4 to lock on the row number 5. So you will see that there's a $sign in front of the 5. Then comma, the lookup array. The lookup array is the header from this system export worksheet, which is row number 1. And I'll also press on F4 to lock on this first row. Then comma, 0 for exact match, close parenthesis, and close parenthesis again for the index function, and then press on enter. So this is the revenue for the online channel in North region in the month of May. And let's drag down and drag it to the right. And these numbers may look a bit weird because actually they are percentage, but you can see on top it's formatted as number. So I'll just click on this % sign and let's increase the decimal. And now I got all of the data right. And let's check if I look up the value correct. And let's try with this gross margin % for this South Retail May. So 41.4%. So this is correct. It's the same as the one that I've looked up in my template. So in the future, if the raw data changes, I can just clear all of this raw data and then paste again. Then it will be looked up over here in my template. And you can also format your data into table. And if you're doing that, then you may need to take note that you cannot press on F1 on the keyboard to lock your column or row or your data. You need this format where this is the column name, and then colon the column name again to lock it in this column. And same goes with the system export row key as well, and also the system export header. And if you're still confused about how to lock data in a table, comment down below and let me know, and maybe I'll create another video on that. And there are a few things to watch out when using index match in a template or your report is that make sure the row key for both of your template and the data is exactly the same, and also the headers as well, the spacing. So make sure that they are exactly the same. And also for the match function, it will only return the first match that it finds. So make sure that your row key are really unique in your raw data. If not, it will just return the first match that it finds from the raw data. All right, so let's do some recap. First, index returns value and match returns position. So when we combine index and match, match will find where the item is, and index will returns the value from that position. And in this reporting template, we're using two match. The first match is to return the row number, and the second match is to return the column number. And then index will return the values at the intersection. Alright, that's all for this video. If it helps you, make sure to like, follow, or subscribe Mark Analytics. And you can also save this video and try building a reporting template like this with your own data. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.